Welcome to Stories by Rushik podcast. If you want to know if your relationship is actually going to last, you should probably ignore the big anniversary trips.
Oh, absolutely. And the expensive jewelry.
Yeah, exactly. And all those highly curated social media posts. Instead, you need to look at exactly what your partner says to you when you walk out the door on a random Tuesday to grab groceries.
It's so true. I mean, we've been completely conditioned by romantic comedies and, jewelry commercials to expect affection to be this dazzling, loud spectacle.
Right. Like we expect the flash mob in the mall or, the trail of $1,000 rose petals.
Boombox in the pouring rain.
Yes, the boombox in the rain. But today we are basically dismantling that entire Hollywood version of romance. We're looking at a really fascinating piece written by Rushik, and it's titled The Architecture of Ordinary Love.
And what Rushik does here is just incredibly thought-provoking. I mean, the core argument is that true affection, the kind that actually sustains you over a lifetime, that isn't built with fireworks at all.
No, not at all. It's built through the most mundane, passing, everyday phrases.
Which is such a profound shift in perspective, Because when we fixate entirely on the grand gestures, we completely miss the foundation.
We totally do. I mean, fireworks are great for, a 15-minute show? But they leave behind all this smoke, they fade fast, and you certainly cannot build a house out of them.
Exactly. And what Rushik does in this piece is he acts almost like an archaeologist of the everyday.
Oh, I like that, an archaeologist.
Yeah, like taking these tiny comments that you probably hear or say without a second thought, brushing off the dust, and revealing the massive structural weight they actually hold.
And the energy of Rushik's writing is so fun and peppy, but it completely reframes how you look at your daily routines. So let's start with the foundation.
Let's do it.
The first phrase Rushik highlights as a pillar of this architecture is, quote, "I am proud of you."
Which, on the surface, sounds like something you hear at a graduation or after a big promotion.
Right, but Rushik specifies that this shouldn't be a dramatic scene. It's slipped into conversation after a quiet victory or simply after you just kept going on a day you really wanted to quit.
The psychology behind that distinction is massive because it completely changes the context of validation.
How so?
Well, think about it. If I only tell you I'm proud of you when you win an award, I am validating your exceptionalism. I'm validating the highlight reel.
Right. Only the big shiny moments.
Exactly. But Rushik points out that these words are meant to, quote, decorate you and make you stay steady. When someone recognizes the raw, invisible effort it took just to survive a grueling workday, they are validating your hidden struggles.
Which signals psychological safety.
100%.
But, okay, I have to push back on that for a second, though, because if I'm playing devil's advocate here, doesn't that risk breeding complacency?
What do you mean?
Like, if my partner is telling me they are proud of me just for surviving a Tuesday, aren't we kind of lowering the bar for ambition? Where is the line between healthy support and, just settling for mediocrity?
It's a completely fair question. But it assumes that ambition requires constant pressure.
Which it doesn't.
No, in reality, the human nervous system doesn't work that way. If you are constantly feeling like you have to earn your partner's pride through massive achievements, your nervous system is in this persistent state of mild threat.
Oh, wow. You're always performing.
Yes, you're always on stage. But when a partner acknowledges the effort of just getting through a hard day, it actually lowers your cortisol. It creates a secure baseline.
That makes a lot of sense.
And ironically, psychological studies show that people who have that secure, unshakable baseline actually take more ambitious risks in their careers.
Really? Why?
Because they aren't afraid of losing their safe harbor if they fail. They know they have a soft place to land.
Oh, that is so interesting. It actually reminds me of a structural analogy.
Let's hear it.
So, if a relationship is a house, this kind of everyday I'm proud of you isn't the flashy, expensive chandelier in the foyer that everyone looks at and points out, right?
Right.
It is a load-bearing beam inside the wall. Like, you don't always see it. You aren't staring at it and applauding it every single day.
Yeah, nobody applauds a beam.
Exactly. But it is doing the heavy lifting to keep the roof from caving in on you when things get heavy out there.
That is exactly it. A load-bearing beam doesn't scream for attention. It just provides absolute stability.
But, keeping that internal foundation strong is really only half the battle. Because eventually you have to leave that house.
Unfortunately, yeah.
You have to step out into this incredibly chaotic, unpredictable world. So how do you maintain that sense of safety when you're physically apart? Which brings us to the next phrase Rushik dissects, which is, text me when you are home safe.
The infamous check-in text.
Yes. And honestly, in modern dating, I feel like we've totally warped this exact phrase. I want your take on this, because you hear people groan about this all the time.
Oh, constantly.
Like, ooh, I have to check in. My partner's keeping tabs on me. It feels like a leash. Why do we so often mistake that message as a nagging chore or a form of control when Rushik so beautifully redefines it as an anchor?
Well, we misinterpret it because we are living in an era of intense hyper-individualism. Like, we are fiercely protective of our autonomy.
We really are.
And because we all have smartphones constantly tracking our locations and delivering notifications, we are highly sensitive to anything that feels like surveillance.
That is so true. It feels like filing paperwork with management.
Right. If you view your relationship as a potential restriction on your freedom, then a text asking if you made it home is going to feel like a demand for a status report.
It triggers that anxious, avoidant reflex.
Exactly. But Rushik completely reframes the mechanism of what is actually happening here. Rushik calls this phrase the map of her care.
The map of her care. That's beautiful.
It means her night doesn't end until yours does. When we look at this through the lens of attachment theory, it's not about surveillance at all. It's about object permanence in a relationship.
Object permanence. Wait, like how babies learn that a toy still exists even when it's under a blanket?
Exactly like that. But for adults,
I love that.
it's the emotional understanding that your connection still exists even when you're physically separated by distance and time.
Because the city is noisy, the world is chaotic, and you are out there navigating traffic and strangers.
Right. That text isn't a leash. It's a tether. It's someone saying, my peace of mind is directly tied to your physical safety.
Wow.
An anchor doesn't trap a ship. It keeps it from drifting into the rocks in the dark.
It keeps you from drifting into the rocks. I mean, when you realize that, it completely changes the way you pull out your phone at 1 a.m.
It really does.
You know, you're tired, your eyes are heavy, you just want to collapse into bed, you aren't fulfilling an obligation, you are confirming to your partner that the anchor held, you're participating in a shared reassurance.
It challenges you to stop seeing yourself as an isolated island. You are part of a connected system.
Which flows perfectly into the actual moment of departure. I mean, we've talked about the text when you arrive, but what about the moment you literally step out the door?
Departure, yeah.
The phrase Rushik looks at here is drive safe. Just 2 words. And I have to be honest, I say this to my barista, I say it to the delivery driver, I say it to my mechanic.
We all do.
These 2 words are so incredibly routine, they almost feel like invisible filler text in our conversations. Is there really that much weight to it?
There is, and that is where Rushik's thought leadership really shines. Because Rushik recognizes that habit often masks deep, primitive intention.
Primitive intent.
Yeah, the exact phrasing Rushik uses is that drive safe is a, quote, blessing disguised as a habit. It is a quiet shield given to you before you step out into the unknown.
A blessing disguised as a habit. It's wild to think about a mindless morning routine as a blessing.
Right.
It completely elevates the mundane to something sacred.
Well, think about the actual mechanics of what is happening when someone says drive safe. Humans have always had rituals of parting because, historically, leaving the safety of the tribe was dangerous.
Oh, that makes sense. Like you might not come back.
Exactly. Today, the danger different. You are getting into a 2-ton metal box moving at 70 miles per hour on a highway surrounded by strangers.
Which is terrifying when you actually think about it.
It is an inherently vulnerable act. We've just normalized it.
We totally take the danger for granted.
We do. But the primitive part of our brain doesn't. So when your partner says drive safe, they are verbally acknowledging that physical vulnerability.
Right.
They're confronting the reality that the world is unpredictable. They don't need to give you a long, dramatic, tearful monologue by the front door about how devastated they would be if you got into an accident.
That would be exhausting.
Very. But as Rushik points out, you already hear everything they mean in that soft instruction. It's an ancient ritual of protection, just updated for the modern commute.
That makes me rethink every single time I've grabbed my keys and just mumbled, yeah, you too, over my shoulder. It really is a shield.
It is.
So, okay, we've navigated leaving the house. We've navigated the tether that keeps us connected while we are out in the chaos. Now, let's talk about the return.
The best part of the day.
The final pillar in Rushik's architecture of ordinary love happens when you walk back through the door. What shall we make for dinner?
The ultimate grounding question.
Now, you know I love a good meal, but when I read this part, I had to wonder, is Rushik basically telling us that the actual food is completely irrelevant?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Like, whether it's a sad, wilted side salad, an elaborate artisanal pizza, or, lukewarm takeout is the sanctuary purely in the act of agreeing to just exist next to each other.
Yes. The food itself is secondary to the biological and psychological synchronization that is happening. Rushik argues that this question is never about duty or obligation. I mean, if it were merely about fueling the biological machine, you'd just eat a protein bar in silence over the kitchen sink.
I've definitely had those days.
We all have. But asking, what shall we make, is an invitation to share life in its simplest form.
How does that actually work mechanically, though? How does a question about pizza create sanctuary?
It goes back to how our nervous systems process shared meals. Evolutionarily, breaking bread together signals to our primal brain that we are safe from predators.
Oh, right, because you can't eat if you're being chased by a tiger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the modern world, it signals that we are safe from the corporate world, from bad news, from the stress of the day. What's fascinating about this question is how it acts as a neutralizer.
A neutralizer? What do you mean?
Well, think about the massive disparity in how a day can go. You could just close the biggest deal of your career, or you could have just been laid off.
Right.
You could be energized, or you could be utterly defeated by a flat tire in bad weather. The dinner question resets the baseline for both of you.
I love that.
It says, no matter what just happened out there in the chaos, we are going to do this basic human sustaining thing together.
That is so grounding.
Rushik explicitly mentions the comfort of two people agreeing that no matter how the day went, they will eat side by side at the table or in bed.
At the table or in bed, which, let's be honest, eating takeout in bed is peak sanctuary behavior.
Oh, absolutely.
But you're so right about it being a baseline reset. It's not about the culinary skill. It is the absolute confirmation that you have a teammate.
Exactly.
It's a daily micro recommitment to the partnership. Like, I am hungry, you are hungry, let's solve this minor biological problem together. It's profound because it is just so incredibly ordinary.
It's taken the biological necessity of eating and transforming it into an emotional touchstone. You are actively building a shared reality.
So we've unpacked these 4 pillars. I am proud of you, text me when you're home, drive safe, and what's for dinner.
The foundational pillars.
And Rushik brings all of this together to hit us with the overarching thesis. These words don't trend on social media. They don't sparkle. You aren't going to find them embossed with gold foil and a romantic greeting card.
Because they aren't meant to be spectacular. They are meant to be structural. They form the architecture of safety.
They really do.
They are proof of being cherished without the need for an audience. And what happens when these phrases are woven into your daily routine over weeks, months, and years is that they transform.
Transform into what?
Well, Rushik says they feel like oxygen. They turn the ordinary into a sanctuary, making life bearable and beautiful.
Oxygen is the perfect counter metaphor to the fireworks we start with. You don't notice oxygen until it's suddenly gone. You aren't constantly walking around saying, wow, this oxygen is amazing today. Look at how it sparkles. You just breathe it. You rely on it to keep your heart beating. That is what Rushik is getting at. This quiet, steady love is the literal air in the room.
And that raises a critical question for you, the listener. How much of the oxygen in your own life are you currently ignoring because you're too busy looking out the window waiting for the fireworks?
Oof, that's a good question.
The philosophy here demands that we pay attention to the quiet blessings, because if we don't, we completely miss the very thing keeping us alive.
It's a sweeping, poetic thought, and I have to say, as I was reading the piece, I was completely lulled into this deep, warm trance about the sublime beauty of romance and finding that one perfect person who builds this architecture with you.
And then goes the disclaimer.
The disclaimer. I practically spit out my coffee.
It's so good.
After all this profound poetry, Rushik drops this hilarious, incredibly pragmatic bomb at the very end of the piece. Let me just quote it exactly.
Go for it.
Quote, disclaimer. The most genuine romance was never grand, nor found just in one woman. Marry all 4 types of women mentioned above, only if you can afford 4 marriages.
It is a masterful pivot. From the deeply romantic straight into ruthless, absurd pragmatism.
I mean, can you imagine the logistics of that? The sheer economy of affording 4 marriages today.
Oh, it would be a nightmare.
Can you imagine the group chat? Okay, wife 1 is on proud of you duty today. Wife 3 is handling the drive safe blessings. Who is doing dinner? It's such a jarring, hilarious shift.
Well, the grocery bills alone would be catastrophic. But, if we look closely at why that joke works so well, it ties perfectly back into Rushik's core philosophy.
Really? Because to me, it just felt like a hilarious left turn to shock the reader. How does it tie back?
Think about the tone of the Hollywood romance we've been dismantling this whole time.
Okay, the boombox in the rain.
Right. That cinematic version of love takes itself so incredibly seriously. It is heavy, it is dramatic, and it has no room for mundane reality.
That's true. Nobody is doing dishes in a rom-com.
Exactly. By ending on a joke about the sheer financial ruin of affording 4 marriages, Rushik refuses to let the piece itself become too grandiose.
Oh, I get it.
It's a way of saying, yes, love is deeply profound, it is oxygen, it is architecture, but let's not take ourselves so seriously that we lose our sense of humor.
Ah, I see. It keeps the essay itself grounded. It prevents it from becoming one of those sparkling greeting cards Rushik was just criticizing.
Exactly.
That is so clever. We can appreciate the immense beauty of sharing a pizza in bed without having to pretend we live in a heavy, dramatic Shakespearean sonnet.
Totally. Being able to hold profound emotional truth in one hand and a sharp, self-aware joke in the other is the hallmark of a healthy relationship.
It really is.
It reminds you that the person building this architecture of safety with you is also someone you should be able to laugh with over the absurdity of life. If you are taking the romance so seriously that you can't appreciate a joke about the sheer logistics of having 4 wives, you're probably missing the point of ordinary love entirely.
You definitely are. So what does this all mean for you, listening right now? If there is one thing to take away from Rushik's perspective, it's a complete reevaluation of what a successful relationship looks like in your day-to-day life.
Absolutely.
Real love isn't a firework that burns out in a flash of noise and color, leaving you standing in the dark. It is the load-bearing beam inside the wall.
It's the tether.
Yeah, it is the tether keeping you off the rocks when the city gets loud. It is the oxygen that keeps you breathing day in and day out through the most ordinary, unglamorous Tuesdays of your life.
And so I want to leave you with this final thought to mull over as you go about the rest of your day. Maybe you're driving home right now, or maybe you are about to start making dinner.
Right.
Take a mental inventory of your own routines. What are the invisible blessings, those completely ordinary phrases, being spoken to you right now by the people who care about you?
The ones you just brush off.
Exactly. Have you been treating them as mere filler or as annoying chores? Because if you are, you might be completely missing the beautiful, steady architecture of love that is actively being built around you every single day.
Maybe the next time someone says drive safe, you'll actually hear the shield clicking into place. For more such podcasts, follow Stories by Rushik on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Prime Music, and YouTube.